No one asks why it is that wages don't go up. Now, I ask all the time. I have a channel that's kind of devoted to it, not just to wages, but to everything economic. And I notice that this kind of thing never really gets brought up by, for whatever reason, the conservatives. And I don't understand it. You guys apply free market principles to everything. You say, oh, well, there's a huge demand for, this XYZ product, and so therefore the price goes up because the demand went up. So that's just basic supply side economics. I agree with that. So then why is it that everything is going up in price? Everything is going up in price, whether it's houses, cars, doesn't matter. Movie tickets, you name it, it's all going up in price. Yet wages, for some reason, are they have to be exempt from the free market altogether. Now, I'll never get an answer out of any of you, and I know that, because you can't answer it without actually having to answer honestly that, well, the reason wages aren't going up is because of, well, all the mass migration that's happening. You've got a country full of illegals right now, a border wide open, and that's what's keeping wages artificially low. Otherwise, wages for almost everything would be, 4 and 5xing. It would be that bad. They'd be quintupling in a lot of cases, because you still have to have people do all this stuff. And despite this nonsense about how we're going to automate all this stuff, and by the way, why is it that automation is supposed to put a bunch of people out of work, but we need all these illegals? Why is that the case? Again, you'll never answer that either. We don't need all these illegals, but well, they'll do the jobs Americans won't do. Then why didn't you automate those jobs first? You can't answer that either. This is, I can chase you around the board all day long, but I'm just going to keep putting you in checkmate every single time, because you don't have answers for these questions. I know you don't. It's just like, you believe falsely, erroneously, that Trump is going to deport all these illegals. He's not. I promise you, he's not going to. Do you realize what happened to real estate? I've done video after video on that. Do you realize what happened to real estate? Entire apartment complexes would be empty. Complexes, huge complexes, would be completely empty if you deported the 50 to, what is it? I've heard conflicting numbers, but it's somewhere between 40 and 60 million illegals in country currently. Okay, well, so if you deported, let's split the difference and call it 50 million. If you deported 50 million people, that's a lot of empty spaces. That also means there's a lot of jobs that don't get filled. It means wages come up. That means prices on houses actually come down too. You think boomers want to lose their value on their house, or what they consider to be nominal value on their house? Invented fake fictional bullshit value on their houses? Of course not. And that would you'd end up seeing what would be called a supply side economy. That's what you'd end up with, because you truly would have not really a labor shortage, because there's no such thing, but they present it as a labor shortage, even though it's not. There's no such thing as a labor shortage, because if there was a labor shortage, then what you'd be suggesting is that there is such a thing as price gouging. I've been over that before. You have no answer for that either. If there was such a thing as price gouging, you're just charging too much money for your labor. No, they're not. They're charging what the market will pay. And if you lose all your slave labor, then that means that the market is going to go up, because everything else has gone up. So that's how it works. Every other cost has gone up. Every other cost in this country has gone through the fucking roof, except wages. Wages are the one thing that just, for whatever reason, they're just not allowed to ever go up. This is done through the mechanism. For those of you who don't know how it's done, if you stuck with me this long, let me explain the mechanism here. They've successfully wiped out most of small businesses. This has been the goal since it's always the goal. It's always been the goal to get rid of small businesses and replace them with these giant mega behemoth companies. It's easier to control a mega behemoth company. It's easier to control one or a CEO and a few upper management people with either island activity, the island guy. Either that kind of activity, you control them through that, or you just control them through bribery. You just give them a lot of money, and some people are totally susceptible to that. Actually, they'll sell at anything and stuff. I mean, they'll go full Jack Welch, for an extra yacht or something like that. It's an illness. It's one of those reasons why all those tests exist. Most of the tests that you take when you're younger and anywhere else in the world, those are obedience tests. They're not intelligence or IQ tests. I mean, you need to kind of understand that. I don't have any. I'm not going to go into that in this video. It's a really long explanation, and I don't have a whiteboard to walk you through it. But basically, it's Stanley Milgram. Look up Stanley Milgram, and you'll find out that, I mean, Milgram pretty much proved that that's what they're after. You know, that never went away, okay? So, as it pertains to wages, like, this is why they're not going to be allowed to come up, because then people would be able to afford to pay off debt. And the faster, for those of you who don't understand this, it sounds counterintuitive, but it's the truth. If you pay off debt, if poors pay off too much debt, remember, we've been over this, I explained this to you. What is an overheated economy? An overheated economy is just a douchebag, you know, grouping of words, phrase that's invented by these idiot economists that usually attend Marxist universities, which is pretty much all of them at this point, for saying poor people are paying off too much debt. That's all an overheated economy means. It just means people who are poor or middle class have paid off so much debt that now they don't have any debt and we have all their debt. So they have to constantly have you in debt to give their debt value, right? Like I said, it sounds counterintuitive, but that really is how it works. The US dollar is a debt-based currency. In order to have a dollar, somebody has to first borrow a dollar. If nobody borrows a dollar, then it has no value of any kind. And that's how the system works, okay? So, that said, for those of you that just keep harping on this idea about how, you know, well, you know, the young people just want, you know, they just want wages too high or something like that. Like, look, I mean, I would put minimum wage at about $150 an hour. Probably more. In fact, if you actually go back to 1967, if you look at the inflation rate between 67, 68, 69, and 70, it goes up pretty much 15% a year. And you can look right at it. And then, of course, in 71 is when, you know, Bretton Woods breaks down. Well, yeah, it's because of the inflation that they were creating, trying to pay for the Vietnam War and all the welfare programs invented by Johnson. This is all accurate history. This is all exactly what happened, you know, trying to pay for guns and butter. And it created a bunch of inflation. And make no mistake, you know, for those of you out there, all you Trump voters that are out there, make no mistake. I was there March of 2020, and you know, right along with all the rest of you. And Trump is responsible in no small part for the conjuring of trillions of dollars and then shoving it into big businesses. Big businesses are pretty much who got all that money, not small businesses. And not, I mean, what the average American got, $1,400. Total that all up, it still does. Where the other, what is, I think, $3 trillion go? Yeah, it went to these gigantic mega corporations that got to stay open, by the way, while all the small businesses got clobbered. That happened under Trump's watch. That isn't Biden. Don't get me wrong, Biden, you know, and just, you know, just for all you people out there that for whatever reason, man, as soon as you criticize Trump, you're automatically a Biden supporter. Are you really that fucking stupid? I'll just tell you to your face. I would tell you if you're standing here in my fucking garage that you are a goddamn moron if you believe that shit. If that's how fucking stupid you are, if that's how narrow-minded you are, I mean, like, my God, man, how the fuck do you survive in this world? Dude, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's just like saying somebody saying, oh, like, well, you know, hey, I don't support Biden. Oh, you automatically support Trump. No. I actually have the power I have this ability to not support either of them because they're both a bunch of fucking morons. And dude, no. And there is no way that either of these two people will do anything for you that's going to be, you know, it ain't going to happen. Trump is not going to deport those illegals. And all that's going to end up happening is you're probably going to end up with a worse economy later on down the road as we print more trillions of dollars. And to have wages come up artificially would be my guess. I don't know. I mean, rather than have a market economy. So anyway, there you go. There's the wages talk again.